WKRG News 5 is your local election headquarters. Less than 2 months until the Alabama primary election, we asked Emerson College Polling to conduct an exclusive survey for WKRG News 5 and The Hill about candidates, issues, and elections in Alabama. 1,047 Alabama voters were polled between March 25th and the 27th. 52% of Alabama primary voters approve of the job Kay Ivey is doing as governor, while 33% disapprove. Governor Ivey holds 48% of support in the Republican primary, followed by Tim James with 11% and Linda Blanchard with 8%. 22% of Republican voters are still undecided. While Governor Ivey stands at 48% in the primary ballot test, she has a 64% approval rating among Republican primary voters. That might allow her to reach 50% to avoid a runoff. Most Democratic primary voters haven't decided who they will choose as their gubernatorial nominee. Yolanda Flowers is the only candidate to clear double digits with 11%. President Biden has a 34% approval among primary voters in Alabama. 59% disapprove of the job he is doing as president. Among Democratic primary voters, Biden holds a 78% approval. He has an 85% disapproval rating among Republican primary voters. Former President Trump's influence is still strong among Alabama Republicans. 51.6% of voters say they are more likely to vote for a candidate with Trump's seal of approval. Alabama primary voters were asked if they prefer to see a United States senator with years of political experience or a political outsider. The majority said they prefer a political outsider. 45% prefer someone with years of political experience. Among Democratic voters, 69% want an experienced candidate. 68% of Republican voters polled prefer a political outsider. Camille Mumford is the Director of Communications with Emerson College Polling. She is joining us live. Thank you for being here to break down what these numbers mean. The majority of Alabama voters prefer a political outsider. Camille, what do you feel that means for the future of politics in the state?
I think it's a promising sign in the Senate race for Mike Durant, considering he's more of an outsider candidate moving into this election. As you said, 68% of Republicans are preferring an outsider candidate, whereas 69% of Democrats prefer an experienced candidate with political experience. So that's something you're going to see a stark divide in as you come to the general election season. However, in the primaries, you'll see that outsider angle being emphasized by the Republicans.
Okay, most of the voters in Alabama are Republicans. How do those political outsider results tie into their trust of former President Donald Trump and his endorsement influence?
I think you see that higher approval and higher that jumps to 60% within that if you're more or less likely to support a candidate among Republicans. So you're going to see that Trump endorsement play an important role. Obviously, you know, Mo Brooks no longer holds that endorsement, but whether or not someone else is able to catch that will be a determining factor.
Camille, with those results on Governor Ivey's approval and Republican primaries, how likely is it that she will manage to avoid a runoff election?
With those 22% of voters undecided, if she can just get a few percent of those to surpass from 48% where she is right now to surpass that 50%, she will be okay. However, if she stays at 48% and some other candidate starts to rise up with undecided voters, that might present a problem. However, if you see this 64% of Republican voters approving of her, there's a good chance you'll see those folks moving back over to her camp.
Okay, just over 1,000 voters in the state were polled with a margin error of 3%. How closely, Camille, do you think the results of this poll represent how the primaries will go in May?
So within the Republican primary, there's a slightly smaller subset of voters, 687 voters. So that's a margin of error of 3.7%, meaning it could fall 3.7% above or below that area. Whether or not that will be completely off is only a 1 in 20 chance, statistically speaking. So we can say pretty comfortably with 95% confidence that these results will be within this margin of error.
Okay, there you go. Heard it first here on WKRG News 5. Camille, thank you so much. We will continue to share more from this exclusive poll tonight on WKRG News 5. You can also see results WKRG.com and search primary race.